Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Script Heroes podcast. We are joined by comic book writer John Layman. He is the writer of the hit creator-owned series Chew, one of our favorite creator-owned series ever, In Hell We Fight. He's also worked on characters like Batman, Gambit, The Suicide Squad, Marvel Zombies, Army of Darkness, and Godzilla, and he is the current writer of DC's Titans and Spawn's The Scorched series. Thank you so much
everyone.
for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So we talked about a year ago, I think, when we talked about In Hell We Fight. So if anyone's interested in John's origins in comics and all that good stuff, that's
that was before Titans, wasn't it?
It sure was, yeah. I think it was before the announcement, even.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure we would have hounded you incessantly as two big Titans fans. But so we're just going to jump right into it here. Like you said, you're working on Titans and The Scorched, which are both, team books, and Hell We Fight is a big ensemble book. You're so good at writing these large casts of characters, which is notoriously, I think, kind of a difficult thing to write, juggling all these personalities. What do you think is your secret sauce for writing an ensemble cast where it feels like everyone is being used and everyone is present?
You got to give everyone their moment, and then you got to I recognize my Titans right now has been very Raven focused, but I've got Cyborg stuff coming up and Starfire after that. I'm trying to hit everyone, but you can't hit them all simultaneously. And then Nightwing, I'm probably going to use him the least because he's got his own book, and Arsenal, he's in a lot of Green Arrow also, so. The ones that I'm always going to focus on the most are the ones that the Titans are their books. You can't find them elsewhere. But that being said, you try to give, everyone their moment. And I felt like I hadn't been using Nightwing enough. He needed a moment. So I have him in the new issue that comes out next week, doing basically figuring out, looking around at a crime scene. And it's this is what happened and in this order. And Starfire's got this line "Oh, your boy wondering." I love that.
Katie will lose her mind when we read that. I
absolutely will. In case you can't tell from my little shrine here. I think that using the book to call out those powers, yeah.
Please do.
So
I didn't mean to interrupt you, Katie. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good. Please.
So I wrote that Suicide Squad Kills Arkham Asylum book, and it was based on the game that flopped, and they kept pushing the game back. And so I wrote it 2 years ago. I wrote it a long time ago. And then they called me. I was always doing just little one-offs. They called me to do an Absolute Power, Task Force 7 number 2 or number 3 or one of those. And it was weird because it was part of this Absolute Power event. And it was I didn't have a lot of freedom. They're like, hey, we need you to use these characters. We start at point A. We need you to get us to point B. You're crafting a puzzle piece to fit in a larger puzzle. So, I had no illusions about that. I wrote it as good as I could, recognizing, I'm doing it within editorial parameters.
Right.
And then so I get this call, and I just always assume I'm in trouble when anyone ever wants to talk to me. Hey, we want to talk to you at DC. It's oh shit, what did I say online that I shouldn't have? And so I and it's with Paul Kaminsky, who's one of the higher up editors. And he's we were thinking about how would you like to follow Tom Taylor on Titans? And it didn't connect. I'm like, what? I'm not even pitching you guys, and you're handing me the Titans? Why?
So you didn't have to pitch for it?
No. Wow. That was the even crazier thing. I'm like, why is this happening? Are you sure you have the right guy? And they're like, well, we really like the Absolute Power thing. And then I just read your hi Panda.
Oh, hello.
He goes, I just read your Suicide Squad Kills Arkham Asylum, and you do really good team dynamics.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that's cool, but I wrote it 2 years ago. But he doesn't read stuff until it is about to go to press. Mm-hmm. So for him, it was brand new. So I got it on the strength of a 2-year-old book.
Amazing.
And then typical comic book fashion, they ask you, do I want to write it? Yes. And then they're like, okay, we got to hit the ground running. We need a a pitch document here, or not a pitch document, but an outline. As soon as you say yes, the clock is ticking and the axe is swinging over your head.
Yeah.
But I didn't mind, and I'm on. I started on 16, and I think I'm writing 26 now. So
nice. 20 just came out, I believe, and 21 is coming out.
I can
coming
never
Wednesday,
keep track
I believe.
because
I have 19 is the one that I have right here, but I think 20 is out too because 20 was the In Love.
Yes.
issue.
Oh
yeah.
21 I just got in my comp box, but like Pete Woods can't do quite monthly, so he does like 3 months on and then 1 month off. So I'm always juggling. Here's where Pete is. Here's where the fill-in artist is. Here's what's come out. Here's what's due. So I never know like numbers, and they'll be like, "Oh, here's what are you doing in Titans 26?" And I'm like,
Yeah,
wins 26. What one's that? And
but speaking of numbers, do you want some fun numbers? Because something very funnily that came up in our last interview, you had just started doing the Scorched. I think you had done 4 or 5 issues when we talked, at least that had come out. When we last talked, and you told us you don't typically do these long runs on other people's characters. You said your Detective Comics run was what you believed was your longest non-creator owned run before, and you wanted the Scorched to surpass it. Well, you did 17 issues on Detective Comics, and as of the last issue of the Scorch that has come out, you've hit 17 that.
Yeah.
And you were solicited through at least 20. I'm sure you've probably done more than that. But you've officially hit that goal that you had set last time you were on the podcast. So,
and now I kind of want to do
congrats.
the same for Titans. Like for the Scorched, I'm in through at least 50, and they like me. And I've actually got a conference call with Todd, and 50 a book's getting a little long in the tooth. Like I don't want to leave, but I am going to bring up like if you guys need a sales boost, this is career suicide, but maybe new writer, new direction. Hopefully I can come up with the new direction and stay the writer. But like I've been building everything I've been doing builds to issue 50. So
amazing.
It should be
awesome. That actually hits on something I wanted to ask you, which was like when you get on these books that aren't so many books now are these like miniseries, and like you said, that was mainly what you're doing with the miniseries of one shots at DC. But when you get these books, whether it's the Scorch or Titans that are kind of ongoing in nature, how far do you tend to plan out, and how much security do you have in terms of how far in advance will they let you know if they are going to make a switch or if they are going to pull you off the book or end it?
It depends on the company, and what DC is right now may not be what they'll be 2 years from now. Like bosses change, editors change. Like my big my big thing that makes me angry is like Outer Darkness, the book I did for Skybound. They didn't give me any notice. They're just like, oh yeah, the last issue was the last issue, and it's like that sucks. At least give me notice. Like In Hell We Fight, I got the numbers for 1, and then I got the numbers for 2, and I extrapolated where we'd be for 5. And Eric Stevenson's like, well, you should do at least 10 issues. It's like, dude, I'm underwater by issue 4. I've got to at least give it some kind of ending where I can pick it up later when it recoups.
You did such a good job with that open ending that you gave it there. And with giving, we talked about last time how it's so rare for a book to like, you had like a letter explaining to people reading the book what was going on and that this was the end, but that you wanted to do 15 issues. Like you just don't get that from people. And you were being so upfront with your readership about what was going on. And I thought that was awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I still talk to Jock. We'd still like to come back, but like Titans, it's more rough. Like, it's like, well, like I know what I'm doing through issue 27. And then there's like a little kind of event thing, like kind of like I'm working with some other books for the next 3 issues, and then like the editors and I have said like, okay, when this ends, assuming the book isn't canceled, assuming they don't rearrange the deck chairs, this is where all the seeds we've been doing for the Starfire thing will start. So like whereas with Scorched, it's I mean, Todd could fire me tomorrow, like if he wanted to, but Thomas Healy, the editor, has been kind of a big proponent of this, and we have this story built in, leading to 50. And have you guys been read the Scorched?
I've read a little bit of it. I'm not caught up on the Scorched the way I am with Titans, but I've read a bit of the Scorched.
It was, it's the team group, but they're also kind of like just satellites for Spawn. Like Spawn's fighting the war, and they're his warriors. But beyond that, like they kind of need a purpose. So I've slowly been introducing like every single character has had a slow rollout of a villain that doesn't have to do with Spawn. It has to do with their past. And
love that.
Maybe it's obvious, but I'm going to say it anyways. I'm basically building a rogues gallery for the Scorched, and now they've all pretty much been introduced, and now I'm going to put them together, and you're going to have the Scorched versus this evil super team where every single character has its analog where they've got a past and they're nice. they want revenge, which is better than them just following Spawn's orders, because this way they've got personal stakes and everything. So
we've noticed something similar with Titans, where the villains that you've brought in have been very classic Titans villains. That it seems like DC refreshing. Likes to lend out the Titans villains to just anybody, and it's been great to have this really kind of core love for the Titans in that book as well. So
well, I mean, it's the classic Titans, so why not use the classic? Although we just threw in Psycho Pirate, which is not
I was losing my mind. I was like, that's freaking awesome.
I'm doing kind of a mix of classic Titans and then new stuff that you don't expect. I'm writing issue 26 this week. And it's awesome. It's I guess I can say this much. It's basically a 2-issue buddy movie with Cyborg and Beast Boy.
Amazing.
Yes.
Typically in the old days, they were the ones who would always bicker the most. Right. So they're they still got a little, they're all grown up, but they're still if they had to pick, who do you want to go on a vacation? Who do you want the buddy movie to be? That's the best buddy movie. The guys are
Absolutely.
I'm stuck with this guy.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But with those villains, with these really concrete single issues of Titans, it's another kind of refreshing thing about the series is it feels like kind of classic comic book, instead of writing something where every issue feels like it's really just there to be part of the trade.
Yeah, no, I think I do that for all my books. I mean, I think I did that for Batman. Because these days, to stay alive, we want your money monthly. I don't begrudge anyone who's a trade waiter, but this way you at least you get a full story. You don't feel like I spent $5 for that. I read it on the toilet and I don't even get a full story. So I'm a big proponent of. I've always been write the comics you want to read, and I want money for my. I want value for my hard-earned cash.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think we talked about it basically every single month that we read the book. It's been up there with, we do every week, we'll do a pull list recommendation, which is the issue that each of us recommends from our week. It's always up there for our book because it feels so worthwhile to actually get a full story and get a full arc for the characters. It's so satisfying.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, it's what I shoot for. I mean, Chew was the same way. Each issue was very individual. And then, you told a larger story in the arc, and then a larger story. And speaking of Chew, I'm going to have a heart attack.
That is a behemoth right there.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, it is gargantuan. 1,500 pounds. I'm 1,500 pages.
1,500 pounds. I want that version of Chew.
Yeah, it's depressing. It comes out in a couple weeks, and it was a monster. It's my worst fear is a page gets printed out of order, and then we have to reprint and eat the printing bill, and the story pages were all we've reprinted it 4 times, so the story pages were fine, but the chapter breaks, that's what I had to worry about fell correctly, and it took me at least a week to put this thing together, and then you get a printer proof, and some people don't do this, and then you'll get a Captain America where page 4 is switched with page 7 or whatever.
Yeah,
worst nightmare. So I am going through this twice, and 1,500 pages. It took, I was delirious by the end, but it turned out good.
No, that's
I'll show you something else.
Yes,
please do.
I don't know why people don't do this. I don't know if you can tell this looks kind of shiny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does.
I I call them comic book condoms. But it's they're covers. They're like plastic covers.
Interesting.
And they perfectly fit. And they preserve your book so well. Like they don't get like dog eared.
I have to look into that.
Yeah, we all bag and board our floppies, you know.
Yeah,
gotta protect
some of my trades get so beat up, you know.
Yeah. I mean, this keeps it from that. You know, you spill coffee, or you know, you put it on water, but like it keeps it in good shape. And I go to a library supply place, and it's called like broadart.com, and like I'm a real like I like my comic book library to look like a library. So I also get the you know, like in libraries where they put the plastic on the dust covers. I do the same for all my hardcovers, but then I thought there's got to be an equivalent for the soft covers to protect them, and it was a little bit of hit and miss because they have a whole bunch of different sizes and some didn't fit correctly, but I eventually, and I can send you the model number.
Please do.
Like,
I love that.
When you buy them in bulk, they're about 75 cents. And so anything that goes on my bookshelf, I put it on and it like protects them. Yeah, it's really nice.
No, that's awesome. My TPVs get so screwed up on my shelf. Yeah, that's great. But back to Titans, I wanted to ask you. I don't know if it was, you know, your conscious choice or something editorial, but when you came on to Titans, there were some big shakeups to the roster. Dick Grayson stepped down from being the leader, and Donna Troy became the new leader. Wally West, the Flash, left the team, and one of my favorite characters, Roy Harper, joined the team, which I was very happy about. But I'm interested, were those your decisions? Were those editorial things? And if they were your decisions, why did you decide
the Wally was not. They're like, we don't have a Flash now except for Wally, so he needs to, to step into the league because we need a speedster, for classic Justice League. And I came up with a list of, they're like, what would you do with this character? Like, they didn't even say that. They're like, what do you want to do with Titans? And I came up with like, here's what I'm doing with every single character. Here's what I pitch. And half of it, they're like, well, you can't do this because, the multiverses are closed. You can't do this with Starfire, but you can do this with Raven. And it was about 50-50. And something they hadn't considered was like Dick stepping down and Donna stepping up. And I just felt like it needed a change because like Tom was leaving. Like Tom was good. Tom Taylor was good because like he could bounce Nightwing off Titans because he was writing both.
He's doing both, yeah.
But I figured you got a new Titans writer. They're going to be doing their own thing. I think it would be cooler to have a dedicated leader who's not worrying about their own book. And then again, I got nothing bad to say about Tom Taylor. Like solid writer and the nicest dude on earth. But his Titans got along very well. He was reintroducing the classic team, so they all gelled. And it's like, no 7 or 8 young people living in a house are gonna get along. And you need a little bit of friction. And so Garth, I just like 8 characters is more than I think I can juggle, and I'm not in love with Atlanteans. Can we swap out Roy Harper, who was also on the outs with Ollie at the time, and then I've got an unstable element. I've got a guy who's like
he'll cause a lot of tension.
He's a pain in the ass. He says the wrong thing, so he added exactly what we needed, which is like people bickering, and he's the guy who. He has less of a filter than everyone else, but he's still, he's still good at heart. And like, I knew people were going to freak out when he and Donna kissed, I knew that was going to be like, the fans were just, cause there's so many like shippers, between the different, characters and relationships that I knew it would drop a bomb on the internet, and I was looking forward to that.
And that was in the latest issue, I believe. That was So.
Yeah, and it's just like a great opening page. Just
oh yeah,
just full record scratch.
And then, like in terms of villains, some of it, like they don't tell me what to do, but they're also like, we haven't seen Deathstroke in a long time, and he's a classic Titans villain, and I'm like,
absolutely.
Oh, you're subtly suggesting I use Deathstroke, and like Killer Frost was my idea. Psycho Pirate was the editor just saying like, Psycho Pirate's really cool, don't you think? And I'm like, ooh, yeah,
He
yeah.
is.
I do agree.
And then, oh shit, I can't say because it's not until
Almost dropping a spoiler right there.
keep my issues straight. But like
so right now, number 25 has come out. So
yeah, so you can spoil through 25, no problem.
there's another classic Titans character that I'm using, and like I didn't think I would be able to use her, so I never suggested. And they're like, this you're already using this character. This character makes sense, and I'm like, are you kidding? I get to use this character and this character.
Okay, I think I have my guess now.
Oh my gosh. Got our speculations running.
So yeah, it's fun because I mean, I work well with editors, and it's a combination. I pitch stuff, they pitch stuff. I had to abandon a story this week that I was in love with because I had this 2-issue thing planned. It was just gonna be the greatest thing ever. And then a different writer had done the same thing in like a 1-panel gag, but it was recently enough that I had to kill it. And then I came back, I thought, with a good plan B, and they're like, well, this is too close to this, and we found a middle ground. Like, it's still going to be cool, but I'm really pissed that I had the most brilliant idea ever, and some writer had it before.
You hate to see it. You really, really do. But you mentioned with a few times with Dick having his own book, he's got all that stuff going on, and the Titans are now also all technically a part of the Justice League Unlimited. The DC universe is in a weird place right now.
Well, that's also a source of tension because they were the Justice League prior to this, and things didn't completely go well, and they've got a little bit of an inferiority complex because they've always been thought of as, we're the kids, we're the not ready for primetime players. So they're like, they're not completely in love with, we're Justice Leaguers, but are we really?
Yeah, I was thinking the Killer Frost issue a little bit. I think Batman comes to pick her up, and they're kind of like, "What are you doing, man?
This is do I get a vote?" He's like, "Yeah, you get a vote, just not the final vote." So yeah, that there's again tension, man. That's what drama is all about. So you gotta put characters in opposition because like the Tom Taylor the issues were fine because it was reintroducing everyone, but by issue 30, man, you don't want your team getting along. You
fully agree.
Conflict is otherwise it's the itchy and scratchy where they're just drinking the lemonade on the rocking chairs. I don't know if you remember that Simpsons, but no conflict,
we want
no
that
drama.
Want that conflict in there for sure.
Yeah.
But for you as the writer of that series, you have these characters who are doing stuff in all these different places. Is this something that you like always up to date on what's going on in every single other book that they're in?
I kind of read what I have to. Like I go in phases where I read a ton of comics, or I play a ton of games, or I watch a ton of TV, and then I get behind on everything, and and then move on. So I read what I need to for Scorched and Titans. So I read the Spawn books, and I read like what I need to. Like I'll read Wonder Woman when I know that Donna's going to be in there, or Keeping Up with Green Arrow, or Nightwing, or even Justice League. But I'm not a guy who goes and I'm not reading any Marvel right now because I'm not writing for Marvel, and I don't need to spend $80 a week on books that don't help me get work and keep me from reading what I should be reading.
No, absolutely. But that actually leads me to an interesting question that I've always kind of wondered. You mentioned reading these books, like when it comes to things like Nightwing, where he's a featured character in your book and in his own book, like for the issues that will be coming out at the same time as your issues, obviously you're writing probably well ahead of that. Like, are you talking to Dan Waters and Dexter Soy about their run at all, or is that editorial communicating things to you guys, or
I
is
talk
it just
to people that I'm friends with, like Josh Williamson and Tom Taylor and I are like buddies enough that I can text and be like, "Hey, man, is this cool?" But a lot of, that's the editor's job. and they'll even tell me like, hey, this character, is starting to be featured more in this book, and to have like a relationship with this character, be aware of that. You can address it, just like, they make sure that and continuity isn't perfect. Like Batman's in like 8 books a month. Like he's gonna do things in one book that have that disagree.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's a little bit of comic book suspension of disbelief. But if we can unify it as much as we can, we do, and that's a lot of it's the editor's job. And they'll be like, like I've got a scene on the JLA Watchtower in a couple issues. I don't know when, but they had to. Like they told me like, oh, you can't use Martian Manhunter this issue. He's here, and they'll tell you, and then I'm like, well, it's about the story in this point. Like I just need a character of authority, saying this.
Yeah.
Who should I use? And and they tell you, and like some of it's like just bucket list stuff, like the Killer Frost issue. I do some like quick cuts on the JLA thing. And I just like wanted to write characters I'd never written, and I'm like, I wrote Firestorm, and because I'd never written Firestorm.
I think Firestorm was one of the mentioned, because we asked you, I think, about your bucket list characters last time, and I think Firestorm was one of the characters you.
And I think I had Martian Manhunter, and that's when they're like, oh, you can't use him, he's here, and so they're like, oh, what would this or this or this character work? And it's like, well, I got to write half the characters I wanted to, and I actually got to write Superman and Wonder Woman for the first time. So
amazing.
It was cool, because I have a local bar I go to, and sometimes I work like at the end of the week when I'm just trying to get a few pages left. So I'll go in on Friday at like 3 when no one else is in there. The bartenders call me Comic Book John, and they're like, I got to write Superman for the first time today, and that's a cool thing, even if you're just doing a scene or a few lines. It's iconic.
It really
absolutely
is. But speaking of iconics, specifically for us, we are, as you know, huge fans of In Hell We Fight. You mentioned that you're still talking with Jock. How are we feeling about the possibility of these follow-ups coming? Because I know that two people who are chomping at the bit.
Kind of small, right? I mean, Titans is keeping me real busy, because I'm gearing up for this kind of crossover thing and Scorch, and I had an idea that was so uncommercial, it's ridiculous, and I don't know. Like once I get an idea, I kind of focus on it, and I don't know. Like, wow, I should do a crossover with my 2 lowest selling books. How will that do? And
we'll be here for it.
But like, I keep thinking about it, and I've been running it by Jock, and I'm like, man, if I could get this to work. Meanwhile, there is Chew Hollywood stuff that is in better shape than it's been in a while.
I think you had announced somewhat recently, maybe it's just feeling more recently, that there was an animated show in the works that nobody knew about, but then it got canceled.
Yeah, that was dead. It's weird because it literally swings the other way. Like it'll be an animated show, and then Hollywood, something will happen. The current iteration is live action, but like we got after the cartoon went away, we had a pitch deck, we were pitching everybody, and then the writer's strike happened just about the time that Warner Brothers needed to re-up the option. And like, well, we're not going to give you another $25K or whatever if we don't know how long this strike is going to end.
Right.
So, adios, we'll see you after the strike. And of course, in Hollywood, anytime there's a tectonic shift, there's brand new people. So you're like, oh, hey, Hollywood, strike's over. You ready for Chew? And they're like, who's that? That was the last people. And so a new Hollywood person came in with a plan, and we've got a great star attached. We've got a production company. We've got everything. And right now they're looking for writers. And once they get that all in place, there should be an official announcement. But like the cartoon, like when you're a comic book writer, like Hollywood doesn't want comic book. They want comic book properties, but not writers.
Yeah.
A cartoon, I can write. They'll bring in visionaries, but this is an actual like movie star, TV star. They're like, you're not writing this, Layman. You can get a vote, but like Batman,
but not the final vote.
Deciding vote. Yeah.
You're getting Justice League Unlimited.
Yeah. I'm getting tightened. But yeah, so I'm kind of waiting to see what the next few months bring, because it could conceivably be very big for Chew, and then that would have me pursuing the creator owned stuff again. But right now, I'm happy.
Will that see a comeback of Chew Chew, your spinoff Chew series?
So my story is she gets hit by a bullet and she's hanging between life and death, and she goes to hell. So that literally is the crossover.
Oh, there you go. Let's get it. We oh man, that would be so awesome.
Yeah. So she ends up in hell with these, and finds these like, dumb troublemaking kids, and they have to help her, with stuff. That's the story I want to tell, but can I do it with with people
really
other
hope
than
you
two buying it?
We'll just buy enough
really
copies. It's fine.
I do not have the money for that game. Don't make those promises. But thank you so much for talking to us about all these books.
We got
awesome.
my first Scorched. Like I was, Sean Lewis was the old Scorched writer, and then I took over with 23, and Scorched Volume 4 was half Sean Lewis and half mine. But Scorched Volume 5 just came out last week, which is the first all Layman Scorched. So I'm pretty proud of that. I got Chew Nomnibus in a couple weeks, and I feel like my first Titans trade can't be too far off if I'm writing 26 and 16 came out. Like I don't.
So you have a trade's worth out already. So in theory,
and
far.
I know that DC and Marvel both move pretty fast when when the last floppy comes out, the trade. So I'm looking forward to putting a comic book condom on it and putting it on as well.
Hell yeah.
Well, absolutely amazing, John. It's always so fun to talk to you.
Yeah,
doing
let's do it in another 6 or 8 months when
absolutely.
How about either when a Chew Hollywood thing hits, or when we get to that crossover that I've been nebulously hinting at?
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
We'll hold you to that. We definitely want to talk to you again. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us on this episode, and hopefully everybody watching enjoyed it as much as we did.
Yeah, thanks for having me. See you guys later.